Hi everyone. So in this video we will take a look at some of the examples of how to create simple parts using the Solidworks. Okay, so let's get started with the problem definition, and let's see what problem that we want to create. So let's say we want to make a drawing or a solid model of this particular design. It says the thickness is given as 16 millimeters, and the top plane, let's say this is the top plane of the part. So we're going to start sketching on the top plane, and we will have some origin reference to at least one of the corner of this part. So I'm going to start off from this lowermost bottom leftmost corner to start the sketch, and I'm starting with the new part in the SolidWorks and make sure the unit system is set as the millimeters. Okay, so looking at this part design, either we can use the jog line to create the sketch entity, or just simply start sketching line after line and then assign the dimensions. The important thing to keep in mind for these type of problems is that if you complete the sketch in one shot and then start assigning the dimensions, then the sketch may get twisted because of the unrealistic geometrical constraints. So it's always recommended to go one by one, create the sketch, add the dimension, then create the sketch, and then add further dimensions, and so on. So let's start off from this leftmost bottom corner point, and starting off with the top plane. I'm going to start with the sketch, and I'm going to start with sketching the line, and I'm going to start off from the origin itself so that my sketch will be fully defined. A horizontal line, a slight vertical, again horizontal. I'm making sure that I'm bringing it down to align with that horizontal line there. Another horizontal line. Okay, once I'm done with this, then I will go ahead and set the dimensions here. So this is 12. I also know that this is 25, and the overall length is 100. So from the origin point to the end point is given as 100. Okay. Also, the vertical height of the slot is 5. And now you can see this part of the sketch is now completely defined. Okay. So now next we're going to move from the left side. We will create these steps and then assign the dimensions to them. So there are basically 1, 2, 3, and 4 steps there. So let me create this part of the sketch on this side. Again, there are various ways of creating the sketch. There could be so many different design intents. As long as you're following the right kind of constraints and the dimensions, it should be fine. So that's the first step. Second step, third step, and up to the fourth step. Okay, and now I'm going to start giving the dimensions. The first thing I'm going to do is assign the overall dimensions from this point all the way to the bottom, and that is 75. The distance from this step to the lower edge is 55. The next one is 30. And the final step is 10 millimeters. it becomes easier to do it in this systematic way, that you start off from the outermost dimension and then you start working your way inward. Okay, now let's assign the horizontal distances, and they are 10, 20 and 36. So this one, the first one, is equal to 10. The next one up to this point is 20. Let me check. Okay, so not this 20s, but the distance is from here from this edge to this edge. Well, I guess that's what I was doing earlier as well. So that's 20, and then the last one is 36. Okay, so now you can see everything is now again completely defined, and that's, you know, should be the way to work your way forward. So then let's again continue our sketch from this top point here. I'm going to go horizontal first, and then there is a slant which aligns with the endpoint here. Then we're going to come down. There is another slot coming up to a line to here, and then merging in there. So as soon as you complete the loop, the area will be shaded in a different color. So again, we will start assigning the dimensions. This one is specified as 8. This length is 30. The slot width is 10. This point to here is 38. And there is an angle of 40 degrees for the slanted line with respect to vertical. So I'm going to select this angular line and then the vertical line. So depending on how you move the cursor, the angle will be changed. So if you're showing from this side, it's 138, or it's going to be 41 here, or 221. So depending on how you move the cursor, the angle will change. So I need this angle, so I'm going to click there and make it 40. And now you can see that everything is now completely defined. All we need to do is just create that circle, and this circle is 40 millimeters from the right edge and 45 millimeters with respect to the bottommost horizontal edge. Also, the diameter of the circle is 30 millimeters. So let's put in these 3 values here after creating the circle, and then we will be done with the sketch. So first I'm going to select a circle here. First give the dimension here, which is 30 millimeters. Then from the center of the circle to the horizontal edge at the bottom, this distance is 45, and the center of the circle to the vertical edge on the right is 40. And now the circle is also completely defined. So once you have your sketch fully defined, as you can see from the status bar message here, all the sketch looks dark in color because we have referenced it with respect to the origin, and all the dimensions are accurately given as specified in the problem. Now we are ready to extrude it. Thickness is given as 16, so I'm going to go to features, extrude base, change the thickness to 16 millimeters, change the direction of the blind. So I want to make this as the top plane and click OK. And so that is how we can create this solid model. Okay, so if I go to Control 7, this is the isometric view, and as you can notice that if you look it from upside, the downward direction from the top, that's the top plane where we have created that sketch. So naturally this becomes the front view direction, and this direction becomes the right view direction. Okay, and after that we can create the drawing of this first by saving it and then make the 3 standard orthographic views as explained in how to create the drawing file. That's the solution for one of the problem. Let's take a look at one more problem. Let us look at this example that we have to create using the linear sketch pattern. In this case, thickness is 12, and let us choose the front plane this time. If it is not specified, or if it is specified to choose as the top plane, let's choose the top plane again to start the sketching. So I'm going to select the top plane, start off with the sketch, and with respect to the origin here, I'm going to start sketching. So basically there is a slot here, and again there is a smaller slot at the top, and then different sketch geometry here. So using the sketch line, I'm going to start with a horizontal line and then create that longer slot and leave it up to there. Go up in this direction and just make a smaller slot and just leave it there at that point. Okay, so let's start assigning the dimensions first. 70, 180, and also I see that there is an inclined line up to which the horizontal distance is 53.99. okay, and the overall is 330. Alright, so that is why we don't need the distance for this small segment here. So 70, 180. Let's go with smart dimension here, and that is 70. This is 180. I'm also going to make that segment inclined segment so that I can assign the overall dimension of 330, and this is the 53.99, the horizontal distance. Alright, so this is 53.99. Also you can notice the depth here is 10. So that's 10. Other dimensions we can now start plugging in. 60 here, 110, and 80 with the slot depth still equal to 10. So this is 60. The slot depth is 10. and 80. Okay, and now the other dimensions also we need to make sure that it is 53.99. Then we need to construct this geometry and then create the dimensions accordingly. So first let me complete the sketch, and then we can start assigning the dimensions. So let's go ahead with the sketch line. All right. Now let's assign the remaining dimensions here before we start with the sketches. So first dimension is 53.99 from this point to the end. Yeah, that is 53.99. 37.88 and 18.68. So 37.88 and 18.68. .81 this vertical dimension, and .81 again 37.19, that's the 37.19, and 19.53, all right. What's the remaining dimension that we need to still make sure that we assign all the dimensions so that there is no blue color that is present in the sketch, and everything should be fully defined. So we can notice that these two horizontal lines on the top are not at the same level, so we can either put the constraint or just add the depth 10 here. Either way is fine. Okay, and that makes the sketch now fully defined. Now let's come to the circular cutouts. So let's draw the first circle, which is, if you notice the dimensions here, it says 8 times 20. So the diameter is 20 and there are 8 instances of it. Okay, and the distance, it says it's 7 times 38, total equal to 266. So obviously if there are 8 holes, there are 7 distances in between them, so 7 times 38, so all the holes are equally spaced 38 millimeters apart. That's what the information we will be using it for the linear pattern. But first let's make the first circle, which is 30 millimeters from the bottom edge and 20 millimeters from the left edge with 20 millimeter diameter. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this circle here. Let's get the dimension, and that's the 20 millimeter diameter. From the left edge, this is equal to 20, and from the bottom edge, this is equal to 30 millimeters. Okay. Now the first circle is also fully defined, and now let's use the linear sketch pattern. So if I go to linear sketch pattern, all I need is just in direction 1 and not in the direction 2, and I want the number of instances. If I say, now here's a very important thing, if I say 8 and they are 38 millimeters apart, and then I choose the entities to pattern as these ones. So you can notice that if I put 8, then it basically makes exact 8 numbers of instances. Okay, so when we assign this number, it includes the original or the parent entity as well. Okay, and the distance between each of these instances is equal to 38 millimeters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's click OK. But you can notice that they are all in blue color. So if I try to move this, they are still moving, or basically changing the dimensions from one another. So in order to not let that happen, what I'm going to do is go to the smart dimension and get the distance between these first two circles, which is equal to 38 millimeters, and then all these circles get equally spaced apart from one another. So this is looking good, and all we need to do is get the thickness of 12 millimeters to finish off this part. So go to features, extrude base, and I'm going to use 12 millimeters. Click OK, and that's basically what the part that we can create it for using this two-dimensional drawing.